everybody, this is Freddy with FreddyCanFly, and in today's video we are going to be continuing on with the NiTron Build Series. In the previous segment, of course, just a quick recap, we've gotten the machine all wired and assembled up until this point. So essentially we are now ready for the fuel tank and the motor installation. We'll go over like the motor prep and all that stuff. But this video is going to be for the fuel tank. If you have any questions or concerns about how the machine got to this point, just go ahead and review the very last video. It was all done on the wiring schematics and everything I used. So it turned out nice and clean. She's looking good, so let's keep trucking along. So I'm going to go ahead and set this off to the side. And then I'm going to go ahead and get out all the things that I need for the fuel tank, because this will be just a quick and simple thing to do. It's a little bit tricky though. I found a good method for it. So we've got our fuel tank out. Go ahead and get the baggies that come with it. So you've got the cap and the grommet here with some fuel tubing. You've got the little, it almost looks like a lever, but this will hold in the fuel tank from what I understand. And then we've got our, I've talked about this earlier in the unboxing, but this is our vent line, which I'm really excited about. I'm going to show you guys how cool this looks once it's all done. We've got our clunk, and then we've got some extra material for our clunk line and everything. So I'm going to recommend, guys, too, just as a side note, inside the fuel tank for the clunk line and everything, I'm going to recommend, not require, but recommend using the clear fuel tubing. Reason being is if you do have a clog or anything gets in your lines, you'll at least be able to kind of shake the tank while it's empty and see if there's anything in there. If you're using a colored line, you're basically going to have to disassemble. So it's not that big a deal for me. I'm just going to use clear inside. For the outside and everything, I will be using some orange Dual Bros line just because it matches the NiTron theme. So, but yeah, quick and easy, guys. What I wanted to say is when you look through the manual, it does show that the vent line is going to be coming in through the tank and up. And the hole on there is relatively small. I mean, I can't even get my pinky in there. So I sat and tried a couple of different things, and I couldn't really get the perfect method. I did try fishing down some fuel tubing and connecting the vent line and pulling it through. Didn't work. So actually what I discovered is if you have something just nice and skinny, I've got some of these little medical clamp thingies, what do they call them, forceps. And actually all I did is, so you're going to want to take the, on the vent line here, it's got a little screw cap on top. The rubber grommet is going to go on the inside. Okay, so make sure that the rubber grommet stays on. That'll go inside the tank. And what I'm going to do, guys, I don't feel as though this is probably necessary. It does not express it directly in the manual. However, I like to do things the way I choose sometimes. I am going to put a little bit of thread locker onto the vent line threads just because this is on the tank. I mean, there's a lot of vibrations that are going to be happening right there. Is it necessary? Again, I have no idea, but I'd rather just do it now than have to worry about it later. So I'm just going to apply just a little tiny bit on there. Feel free to do so if you want. I'm going to work it into the threads. And then all I'm going to do is just take these little clamps, and I'm going to clamp it right here on the bottom. And let's see if this will go in. Should be able to feed it right in. Yep, just line it up with the port. Boom. And then the threads pull right through. So there we go. So now this is kind of going to be the tricky part, though, is getting your... What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just hold it upside down and just try to... As long as I can grab some threads first, then I won't have to worry about that dropping back in. So kind of an odd design. I'm not going to say this is the easiest thing in the world to get just right, but if you kind of play around just a little bit, there we go. And then you can just kind of hold it from the top and thread that in. So that's not too hard, guys. It's really not that big a deal. I'm not going to say that is the sweetest design I've ever witnessed in my lifetime, but I do like the way that it looks overall. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And then, yeah, if you just follow along in the manual, guys, I'm not going to pull it up just because it's quick and simple. It's going to have us create our clunk line. As always, you want to make sure that your clunk line is free to reach the back of the tank, but it shouldn't get stuck or bunched. So when you shake your tank, your clunk line should have full roam in there. So make sure you cut that appropriately. For getting your grommet and everything in, as long as you guys aren't big sanitary freaks, I know we live in a time where you got the whole COVID and all that jazz going along, but I use a little bit of saliva Just kind of get it wet and it pops right in. It's really easy, really simple to do. And then what I'm going to do is with the same method, kind of lubing up my frames, I'll slide the tank. You kind of compress it down with your hands and slide it in. And then we're going to put a piece of the remaining rubber grommet for the fuel tank. It'll go on right there, and then we'll go ahead and fasten this down. So I'm just going to complete all those steps real quick, and we'll just come back and kind of do an overall final review on the fuel tank. Alrighty guys, so coming back here to do a quick and easy recap. Again, this shouldn't be too complicated for you guys to do. Again, tank pressure fits right in. There is this little bevel, or almost like an air pocket, if you will, that sits on top of the tank. So it's going to butt up against the right side if you're looking from the nose. And then what's going to happen from there is we've got this piece here. You'll put a little bit of that fuel tank gasket on there. And then that's actually going to sit right in front here. And that's going to hold the tank on. So actually, why don't I'll throw that on real quick. And it looks like it also is, so they did supply a little bit of a longer bolt that came inside the baggies that have the support. It looks like it's probably about 2 millimeters or so longer. So I am going to swap those out. I'm going to wait on the Loctite for now. Reason being is it looks like this part also connects to the connection points for the fan shroud. And since we might have to adjust or bias this part forward or backwards, I'm not going to Loctite it into place just yet. That way I don't have to break the Loctite seal and cause a big old mess. But it looks like it fits on there really nice. Again, the part's made to be biased forward or backwards as well. So I'm just going to kind of give it a snug down. I can tell right now this tank is in place. I mean, it's not going to really be shifting around or going anywhere. So that looks really decent. Overall, it was a little trickier to assemble. Again, we got this part all locked down, but a tip I'll give you guys on doing the clunk line and the exit port here is you have to kind of do it as an assembly. So a lot of you nitro guys out there probably are familiar with how to get tanks together, of course, but I had to actually put my clunk on a line, kind of dry fit the inner metal part. I didn't do the rubber gasket yet to kind of figure out how long my clunk needed to be. Then you have to feed the line through the rubber part and connect it to the metal nipple thing here. Then I had to stick in the rubber part, and then I had to pressure fit the metal part in. So it kind of does this as an assembly. So if you guys run into any issues, hopefully you watch the full video first, alright? So it'll go clunk line, or it'll go clunk, fuel line, rubber grommet, then metal grommet. And you want to do it in that order so everything kind of feeds in as an assembly. Hopefully that makes a little more sense. But again, I've got plenty of room for my clunk to move around in there, as you can see. My main shaft's jumping around on me. Okay, so there we go, guys. We have the fuel tank fully assembled. It does have the fuel magnet type clunk in there, as we talked about, instead of like a metal one. So it is going to turn out to be a little bit shorter. It doesn't reach all corners, but it's a magnet. So I mean, anytime it touches fuel, the cloth is going to stay wet. And that's kind of the design purpose behind that. So here we go, guys. We now have the fuel tank assembled. In the next video, we're going to move on to installation of the motor. Thanks again for watching, guys. Remember, Freddy can fly, so can you.